Hello everybody and welcome to a brand new Elder Scrolls Online video with me, Sherman. Today we're going to be covering the patch notes for the latest patch on PTS, the 3.2.1, and honestly, it's just a lot of fixes this time around. It says right now, we fixed a handful of bugs involving player abilities and item sets. Balance changes aren't in this patch, and as we're still in the process of collecting and considering feedback. Please make sure to look at the log into PTS, which, yeah, okay, we know. So yeah, it's right now they're doing that. They're also adjusted the sourcing of transmutation crystals and have added, made additional improvements to the supplied character template. So this is going to be really good. We're going to go over some of this stuff. So they added the following trial set item sets to the character template starting inventory, which is really good: Eternal Hunt, Infallible Mage, Lunar Bastion, Moon Dancer, Alkosh, Twilight Remedy, and Vicious Serpent. This is actually going to be really good for a lot of us on PTS because a lot of us really want to get in and test with the proper sets, and we can't do that because they're not giving us a lot of the proper sets to test the end game. So, and since the one of the things in this DLC is a trial, it's good to have that in-game capability. So this will be good. It'll be great actually for a lot of us to test this out. They also did some fixes with the werewolf and vampire skill lines. These weren't unlocking to max. They are now unlocked to max. The Ligerman is now unlocked and set to rank 20, which is good for those who want to test that stuff. I guess if you want to go around thieving stuff and all that. So they did those, and they will now receive, you will now receive transmutation crystals even if your account is not an ESO Plus member. That's a bonus! Yay! Finally I can change some of this stuff on my gear, which will be good. Moving on, they fixed some bugs with the Battlegrounds things. I guess that's good. I haven't been testing Battlegrounds at all. They also fixed some voiceover work, which is good. They fixed a few things in here in the combat and gameplay within the DLC, which is good. And then of course they fixed a lot of stuff with the Asylums thing, which is really crazy because the imperfect attendants will now do increased damage with the following abilities. That's like every ability they have, okay? Jesus. St. Lilith's Defiling Blast now does considerable more damage, which is gonna suck. St. Felms will now use Sharpened Shrapnel Storm more often when assisting St. Olms, and then Shrapnel Storm now displays a ring telegraph to better discern the area of effect. But that's really good. St. Olms will now teleport player characters into the fight space who were unfortunate enough to be trapped outside of when the combat started. Exhaustive Charges now does increased damage and drains magic and stamina at a higher rate. That's crap. Storm of the Heavens now does increased damage. Significantly increase the landing damage of Gust of... Jesus, they just want you to die. They want you to fail. No, that's actually really good, because it was really... honestly, the first time I played through the thing on normal, it seemed really easy. It did. It didn't seem that difficult at all. The hardest part was actually the two ads. I think it's the St. Felms one that does all the AoE damage and everything. This guy can hit for a crap ton already, and this just makes it a little bit better. But this will actually make it a lot better for shields. Like you said, the whole thing with a lot of the builds is damage shields are going to become really important. Sorry but it's true. Because all this incoming damage, having high damage shields on your characters, like using... the barrier and stuff, is going to make it more important to have than building your character to be like like building your tanks to be like, oh, Warhorn. Having barrier on a tank and having barrier on your healers is going to be, you're going to have this option of like, hey, do I want to do this or this? So kind of thing. But I do see healers going for more barrier than they are popping Warhorn because of this effect. Because popping Warhorn does increase your stats and it increases your damage. But the problem is that damage only lasts 8 seconds. And nothing against it, but you have to time like a lot of Warhorns. And with this amount of damage coming in, it's going to be a lot easier to do barrier and keep it up consistently to keep that damage off your people, because this is going to be a lot more damage coming in now. And you're going to want to mitigate as much of that as possible. Your heals ain't going to cover it, especially with a lot of the builds. that are being used right now on PTS, you know, like on live and PTS, the healing factor and the fact that like, no offense to the heals, okay, the healers out there, but having a 40% crit versus, or not even a 40% crit, but and not having a super high healing effect makes it a lot worse for your character. When you have a higher healing effect and a higher crit, the better the heals are. That's why when I put together one of my builds, I released it right away, because after seeing it and testing it, I was like, wow, this is really good. And that was the Argonian healer that I released. I do have some testing to do. Somebody gave me some ideas, some suggestions. I'm going to test that out and see if it helps. If it makes it better, then I will suggest that build over the other one. But the damage shields are going to be super important in this update, and that's a given because of this one trial. And of course, Halls of Fabrication. Those ones there's a lot of AoE damage going on. And if you haven't played through the 2 new dungeons, there's a lot of AoE damage in those too. So you've got a lot of area of effect damage going on that you have to mitigate because of it. And damage shields seem to be the best option. So this is going to be a more like thing where you want to build for damage shields. You want to have those out there on your allies and stuff. And barrier is the best option. So. Alright, moving on. Some of this is nothing I really care about. Quest and zones. I want to check something. Alright, this is good. These are good changes to these daily quests, because that was one thing I didn't really care for. So now in the Horns of the Reach category, when they belong. Okay, finally, yes. Let's see. Resurrecting another player immediately after dodge rolling. Yeah. They finally fixed this too. This is kind of nice because I didn't see it on the tooltip. And this relentless focus, grim focus, fixed an issue where the morph could not be cast while silenced. That's a good change. Aspects of Terror fixed the issue where with this ability and its morphs where the visual effects would not appear if a target with CC immunity wasn't okay. Dawn's Wraith, Solar Barrage fixed an issue where the effect applied, updated the ability's tooltip and morph effect current functions. Okay. Lacerate, fixed issue. Yeah, this made me mad because I was testing it with that new Asylum set and I wasn't getting the heal. I was like, this is cheese. So I fixed a few things. They fixed it. Look, guys, they fixed the issue where the set could critically strike. I don't know if they fixed the thing where it would take you out of an action when the birds spawn. Now that's a really annoying bug. Hopefully they get that fixed in the next update, because that is annoying. And by the next update, PTS will be changed over to European side anyways. So, let's see, adjusted tacits. Yeah, okay, whatever. Increase the drop rates of unidentified transmutation geodes. Unidentified transmutation geodes will now occasionally drop from the final boss of a normal and veteran dungeon rather than the transmutation crystals dropping directly. That's cool because these geodes have a chance of dropping different amounts of crystals. So this is kind of nice. Veteran mode bosses are significantly more likely to drop a geode than in a normal mode dungeon. You will now receive a transmutation crystal for completing Dragon Star Arena on veteran mode, just as you would for completing Maelstrom Arena. Okay. Transmutation crystals are also now granted from the weekly trial quests, your first in a day random dungeon or subsequent random dungeons, regardless of whether you do these activities on veteran mode or normal mode. Previously they were only available for veteran. Okay, that's good. Increased. Oh, this is gonna make some concern. So they increased the cost of transmutation from 40 to 50 crystals. For non-subscribers, just so you guys know, non-subscribers can only carry a maximum of 100 crystals, while subscribers can carry 200. So, getting these crystals, these geodes, and then getting this many is going to be really crazy with this update. So let's see. I want to see what they have to say here because I didn't read this. The goal of transmutation is to provide a way to acquire your ideal traits in a way which is less dependent on RNG without trivializing changing equipment traits or making it incredible time consuming. The primary sources of transmutation skills are guaranteed drops from content you're likely already doing to collect your gear, such as pledges, the group finder, daily random dungeons, trial weekly quests, veteran arena completion, and end of campaign PvP rewards. We made further changes in the patch to make the sourcing more inclusive for a wider level range of players. First, we added geode sourcing to the normal mode difficulty final bosses, okay, as well as normal trial weekly quest rewards. Further, the rate at which these will drop from veteran bosses has been significantly increased. Dungeon and final bosses will now also drop on unidentified transmutation geodes, which provide at least one transmutation crystal with see, they multiplies up to 10. So you can get a total of 10 crystals per dungeon, but it's on RNG. So additionally, completing Veteran Dragonstar Arena now provides a transmutation crystal. Due to all the transmutation crystal sourcing improvements, we have increased the cost of transmutation from 40 to 50. Okay, now I see why they did the 40 to 50. We are still working on the sourcing and acquisition rates of transmutation crystals. The changes in this patch are only a start. We will continue. Okay, so they are going to continue doing this based on feedback. And honestly, this is good. I'm glad that they made these changes because after running a few dungeons, daily dungeons and stuff, and getting the geodes, you can get some geodes, like I was getting like 5 crystals, sometimes I get 4 crystals, sometimes I get 3 crystals, that, whatever. It's kind of cool that they did this, but I want to see, what I'd really like to see is, I would like to see the daily delves having a chance of getting a crystal, 1 crystal from the daily delve. That would be good. And I think that they need to add another, way, like maybe doing the Fighters Guild and the Mages Guild dailies. I think any daily should give you a geode. It just should give you a geode, because then it makes it more interesting for players, especially those players who don't do a lot of dungeons. Like I have friends who don't play dungeons at all, and they run like a crafted set and a world drop set, and that's it. They're happy. They don't run monster sets. They like one said, they just don't have time to do that kind of content along with everything else they're trying to do in the game. So it's understandable. They work, this person works for the railroad, so they're always gone. They're never home. I have another friend who does something else, and they just don't have the time to do this kind of gameplay like a lot of us do, who can spend, some of us can spend 4, 5, 6 hours a day on it. Some people can only spend an hour or 2 a day. So it's nice to have this there. But I do think they need to offer more ways to get them. So transmutation geodes will no longer stack, which was causing an issue when using multiple transmutation geodes in quick succession would cause you to get not to get any transmutation crystals. Yeah, that's a good thing they fixed that. Fixed the issue where transmutation will not appear properly in the loot window when added to your account. And this was a display-only issue. The crystals were still properly added to your account. Added a tooltip to the transmutation crystal currency icon shown in the transmutation station. So all these changes are really good. I'm glad that they're taking the time to actually look at this transmutation system while we're in the process of testing it, because it does make a lot more sense. Like the fact that they added the crystals to even non-subscribers to get crystals, so that we can test those as well. That's really good. Raising the cost of 50 crystals is, to me, is basically saying this: if you want to transmute something, it better be an item you're going to be holding on to, and it better be an item you're going to use, because otherwise it's just not going to be worth it. The nice thing about it is it does help those people who are Maelstrom farmers. It helps those people who are like DSA farmers who farm out those new, like the master sets and the Maelstrom sets and the, now the Asylum sets. They're going to give them a way to do that. So moving on, they fixed some quests. They adjusted some UI things, which is kind of cool. Crafting, blah blah blah. Crown Store. The ESO Plus benefits page of the Crown Store now included. The transmutation crystal cap is doubled for ESO Plus members. See, that should have been there in the first place. Not sounding bad, but that's cool. Fixed an issue where purchasing an item from the Crown Store would reset the list back to the top. Yeah, that was just stupid. So they fixed the transmutation of the controller. Alright, and that's pretty much it. I mean, there's not a whole lot here, but this is good changes for the transmutation system. Honestly, if you think that the transmutation system was meant or designed to make it where you could transmute any gear, like I assumed that when I first saw it, and then when I saw it on PTS, I was like, wow, this really sucks. And then after getting in and messing with it, I was like, okay, now I see why they're doing this. It's to make it more optional for, you know, people say, hey, you know what, I got this one item that I can't I'm not getting it in the right trait. I can just take one and retrade it, is basically what it is. It comes down to the transmutation system is a really good system. It's just it's not meant to retransmute every piece of gear you get. It's meant to transmute when you don't get when you just not getting the one trait you want in a specific thing. Now, I'm glad that we don't have jewelry crafting in the game, honestly. If they did add jewelry crafting in the game, you know, because we can change the traits on things, they would have to add that to jewelry crafting, and that can be a big problem, because I could just imagine what people would do. People would be changing their traits on jewelry like crazy, just like they would want to be doing on gear, and it would just come into a cluster. Yeah, we won't go any further than that word. But yeah, it would just be bad, you know. But I do think that the transmutation system's good. I like where it's at right now. I think if they were to raise it any more, the cost, I think that would be the biggest mistake ever. 50 is good, because for non-subscribers, they can transmute 2 items at least, and for subscribers, they can transmute 4 items. That puts it in a really good spot. So, and you never know, like I said, with these geodes, giving you from 1 to 10, or from 0 to 10 crystals at any time. So as long as you're doing your dailies, like I do dailies all the time, and I can do dailies on 1 to 5 characters. So if I do dailies on 1 to 5 of my characters, that means I'm going to have a chance of getting or filling my crystals up like that, like in one day, you know, because 5 characters times 10 is 100. So I could have that luck of the draw one day and get all 10. And then I go transmute some stuff, you know, go back, refarm, get another 100 crystals, you know. So I think that I think it's in a good place. How well it's going to be, I don't know. But if the RNG on the crystals is as bad as the drops, then getting 10 crystals is going to be a luck of the draw. And you better be having the luck of the day that day, my friend. Because you better have that lucky charm sitting on your shoulder. You better have the frickin' rainbow over your head and the pot of gold sitting off to the side. You better have that horseshoe up on the wall. You better have every lucky charm you have in the world around you going, hey, here you go. Because that's my only concern with the transmutation. Other than that, I think that everything that they're doing right now on PTS is basically working out bugs and everything. And I think that we might see next week a big update because they're going to go to the European players, and that'll give them 2 weeks to gather information on this stuff. And hopefully they do listen to player feedback, especially when it comes to, and I'm going to say it again, to the Maelstrom and the Master Weapons. If you can get this Asylum stuff on normal mode in the trial, you should be able to do the same for Master and Maelstrom. But they need to have perfect and imperfect, or perfect and normal versions. The normal versions weaker than the perfect versions by a small degree, just like they are for the Asylum. If they do that, I think that we will see Master and Maelstrom being farmed more often, because people will want to get the Maelstrom stuff on normal mode, so that way they can run it through on vet mode and get the better version. It's going to make it a lot easier for people, is all I'm getting at. And I myself will be more likely to want to run after Maelstrom stuff than looking at it and going, you know what, I'm just not even going to waste my time. It's just not worth the effort. I'll go run Dragonstar before I go run Maelstrom. And it's not that I don't think Maelstrom's a hard, difficult thing. It's that it's just really time consuming. If you don't understand the mechanics, it just takes a lot of time to run it back to back to back to back. And if you're trying to get that perfect, that one item and that one trait, running it on vet mode just continuously is just mind-numbingly long and boring. So this would give, like I said, this would give players a chance to get it, run it on normal mode, farm out what they want to get, and say, I'm good with this, or I can go after the perfect version and run it on vet mode. You know who's going to be running it on vet mode? All the top players. Who's going to be running it on normal mode? Everyone else. Why? Because it's going to be just as easy for them to get that on normal than it is for them to get on vet. And those people that get it on normal aren't getting the best version. They're getting a weaker version. So it's kind of the trade-off. And I honestly, you know, and I'm going to say this, and I know I'm going to get a lot of flack. I like this concept that when you do things on greater difficulty, you get rewarded for something greater. Like when you play through a dungeon on vet mode, if you do it on hard mode and it's the daily pledge, you get a chance of getting 2 keys instead of, or you get 2 keys instead of 1 key. That to me is rewarding. What's not rewarding to me is the RNG on those stupid chests. I think they need to make 1 key that you can get, like, have a chance of getting on the final boss of a hard mode, that when you do it on the pledge, when you do the hard mode, it has a chance of dropping what's called a select key, and this select key lets you select the item you want out of that chest. But it's got like a 1 in 100,000, you know, chance to drop. You know, I'd be happy with that, because then I could go get the traits I want on the shoulders. I don't have to go get crystals. But no, I mean, with the retrait system, that makes it a lot easier, because we can go trade out our helm and shoulders. That's going to be easy to retrait your helm and shoulders. It's going to be easy to retrait a drop set. You know, like if you get, let's say you want to get Vicious Ophidian, but you keep getting this one item, like the belt. Like I had this issue with combat prayer, or combat physician on live. When I was running that, I was trying to get the belt in divines, and I kept getting it in frickin' sturdy. No matter what I did, it would always drop sturdy. Not even well fitted, not even training. It was sturdy, and I was like, "You got to be kidding me!" Well, finally, I got it. I got one in divines. It took me like 6 months of running the Wayrest sewers. I finally got it, put it on my character, was excited, and then realized, you know what, I don't really like this anymore. I want to play something else. So I quit playing that character. I got the piece I wanted, and I just wind up going playing playing a different character for a while. I was so fed up running that dungeon that when I seen it pop up in the dailies, I was like, oh, I'm not even going to go near Wayrest. I don't even want to look at it, because I got sick of running it. And I had the same issue when I ran for Eben. I had the same issue when I ran for, you know, like, because you run those dungeons so much trying to get the perfect gear that you just get burned on them. And you never want to see them. It's like you don't want to see them again. Like, I spent so much time in this dungeon trying to get this gear, I don't want to look at it again. And to think I'm actually considering doing it again. So it's like, no, don't kill yourself. But yeah, I'm seeing a lot of, you know, good changes in the game right now, and I honestly think that even the VMA changes, you know, the Maelstrom changes, the Master changes. I know people are like, oh my god, they just destroyed the game because of this. They destroyed my build. What they did was they gave you a benefit on top of the loss of a benefit. So they took away the weapon damage, but they increased the capabilities of that item to give you the same benefit of what it did before. The only thing is that doesn't apply to everything you get. And I think that's a fair trade-off. Whether people like it or not, you can't say that something's bad until you get in and test it. And one of the things that we're seeing on PTS right now is the dual wield from Master, the dual wield, the one that increases the blade capability. That thing is powerful. That's a powerful combination. And then on top of that, now if I read right, somewhere in here it says that it affects ringing slashes, and I was like, what? Like now it affects ringing slashes. Wow, you know, that's pretty crazy, and we'll see if we can find that. But I was like, this is crazy, because yeah, lacerate fixed an issue where this ability and its morphs would heal you based on damage and extend it, and with the Clockwork Whirlwind set. So now it's actually gonna extend where it wasn't extending it. Now it's gonna extend it with this set. That means you're gonna get that ticking heal for longer, and it's gonna do more damage over that time. So you're gonna get, you know, that's kind of a cool concept. I thought it was a really good idea. But I remember seeing somewhere else where I thought, you know, it said that we get the extra damage from twin slashes or whatever with that, or ringing slashes lacerate, whatever, was getting increased by that, but I could be wrong. But still, my point is that with these changes, they increase the capabilities of the Master Maelstrom, what they did, a lot of them in damage, which made major improvements to the way they work. And yeah, it's only to those abilities, but even just those abilities, like running a Maelstrom weapon with that bleed on it now, and that bleed hitting for more damage, the Maelstrom two-hander, that's good, because now you can boost that bleed with Mighty and with Thaumaturge. So you could get that bleed from that charge to be, you know, tick for 3 or 4K instead of just 1 or 2. And that's kind of a nice thing. I know a lot of people are like, oh, well, that's just stupid. Well, that's an opinion. That's your choice. I like these changes. I don't think they're that bad. So, but we are seeing a lot of promise come from a lot of these other sets. Like, I know Gilliam did a test with the new Asylum weapons, and then Outcast did the test. And like they said, 1,000 points difference isn't enough to make it bad. But if you're minimaxing, it's not going to be the greater option. It's still going to be better to go with a monster set, because a monster set's going to give you X and Y, while this is going to give you this. It's just going to extend the length of that damage. And then you have to change up your rotation. You have to incorporate, you know, Steel Tornado with it and everything else. But when you're using the other one from the master set and you test it, now you're seeing a huge increase in your DPS. Not a huge, but you're getting about the same amount of DPS from it as you do from, like, running Mephalos, you run Velodriths, you run Krogs. You're getting around the same DPS numbers because of how it affects your build. So it's kind of like you get this trade-off. And now we have better testing tools, thanks to the devs, which will give us a great thing to test with. I can't wait to get in to test some builds with Infallible Mage. I do want to test tanking with Lunar Bastion, and I also want to try out Roar of Alkash on a DPS with and Vicious Serpent. So these are things that are going to be good. And Moon Dancers I definitely want to test out with, is it Moon Dancers? I don't remember. It's one of these. I think it's Twilight Remedy is the healer set. I want to try this out as well, because I think that a lot of the sets are misinterpreted, and a lot of people don't quite see the effect of how well effective they are in play unless they actually see them being used. It's kind of like when people say, oh, well, I wouldn't run Lunar Bastion because the little damage shield it gives is nothing. If this thing's giving a 3k damage shield, that's as good as a DK's damage shield in most cases. And if you can boost it even higher with Bastion and stuff, then yeah, it could be even a better option, because whenever you use the synergy, you're applying that to your group. And that little damage shield, even in 8 meters, people are like, oh, 8 meters isn't very much. 8 meters is going to be you, the tank, and your DPS, if your DPS is standing right up there with you. So it's going to apply that damage shield to both of you, and it ticks. So it's constantly applying that damage shield. And if you're using your damage shield along with it from being a DK, that means you're applying 2 damage shields, which means they have to strip both of those, and it's going to keep their health pools greater all the time because you have those 2 damage shields up. Lunar Bastion is looking like, to me, like a good set, but I haven't really had a chance to test it in the past. Now I'll get a chance to test this. I will get a chance to test, you know, all these other sets, which will make it even better for me, because now I can come back to you guys and say, hey, I found this new build, and it's a really kick-ass build, and check it out. I definitely want to test Alkash with Hunting's Rage, because it's something that I've always wanted to test in the past. See, I don't do a lot of trials on the live servers, and when I do, it's mostly in normal mode and not on vet mode, because I still don't know all the mechanics of the trials. So this gives me a way to test the sets that drop in the trials and come back with feedback to you guys and say, hey, here we go. This is what we got going on. So I'll get a chance to get in and test a lot of this stuff. I also want to test Moon Dancers. Honestly, I want to test this with Infallible Mage on a DPS, running the new Asylum staff on one bar, and on the back bar running the Maelstrom staff. So that's something I've been wanting to test for a long time. Because with Infallible Mage, whenever you do a heavy attack, you apply minor vulnerability with a guaranteed uptime of 10 seconds versus the 4 seconds you would get before. So running a Nirnhone staff on the back bar, or on the front bar, running an infused staff on the back bar with a glyph on it might still be a good option, and you could have that back bar one infused with weapon damage and spell damage, while the front one is equipped with one of your glyphs based on your class's whatever. Like if you're playing a magic DK, you can run a fire glyph. If you're running a Sork, you can run a shot glyph. And if you're running a, you know, Nightblade or whatever, you could run whichever one you want, but you're just not going to get the bonus damage like you do from being those other ones. So I'm looking at that and going, that might be a good option, because with Moondancer, you're going to get this extra crit damage, you're going to get this other stuff, and then Infallible Mage is going to give you this. Like, that's a good combination. But Infallible Mage and Moondancers both give you 5% increase to enemy damage in dungeons, and it doesn't stack. So Infallible Mage with, like, Twilight Remedy, as even though this is a healer set, but still running this on a healer might be a good idea. Running Infallible Mage with, I know there's a couple other sets that are in there, but I'm going to take a look at all this stuff, guys. I've got a long week ahead of me of testing, and this is going to be really my last week where I can get in a lot of testing, because my kids are going on 2 weeks holiday here coming soon. They get from school, because they're on year-round schooling where we live, and they get 2 weeks off in the fall, 2 weeks off in the winter, and 2 weeks off in the spring. So they're getting into that 2 weeks off this next week. So I'm like, I got to get in and do all my testing before that, because once they're home, I can't do as much recording as I'd like, unless it's late at night. But I will be doing a lot of work overnight then, which will screw up my schedule for them being in school and everything else, but that's fine. I don't mind doing it. So I'm going to get in and try and get as much, like I said, as much testing done. And I just hate to say it, I'm excited. I'm excited to finally be able to test a lot of stuff that I've never been able to test before. So thank you to the devs, and thank you to you guys watching. Other than that, I don't have much more to say. If you guys like this video, go ahead and hit that like button. If you guys want to subscribe to me, you can subscribe. Other than that, I want to thank you all for watching. Until next time, have a wonderful day, and this guy will see you all later. Bye.